morning, bom dia, buenos dias. Can I ask you to say good morning back to me so we can start with high energy? Good morning. Bom dia. Excelente. Good morning. Annyeong. I don't know if this is good, but I try. Yes. Well, my name is Ludmila Botas, and I'm honored to be here, and I'm going to be the host for the next 2 days of this remarkable gathering. On behalf of Inter-American Development Bank and the government of the Republic of Korea, I would like to welcome you all to Korea-LAC Trade and Innovation Forum 2024, taking place in the vibrant city of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We are delighted to have you with us as we embark in this another exciting chapter of this enriching forum. For the second time, this esteemed gathering is being held in Latin America, and we are proud that Brazil was chosen as the venue for such a pivotal event. Can I hear some applause, please, so we can start with the energy? Thank you. Before we begin, I would like to make a few general announcements. As I have already told you, for your convenience, we have simultaneous interpretation available in Korean, Portuguese, Spanish, and English. Please make sure to pick up your headsets if you need one. Thank you very much. We kindly ask you to silence your cell phones to avoid interruptions during the sessions. As we dive into our discussions and presentations, we invite you to appreciate the expertise and the accomplishments of our speakers to get a deeper understanding of their backgrounds and professional journeys. We encourage you to visit the official event website where you can find detailed bio of each speaker. And now we see the QR code in the screen. Well, now, to officially begin our program, we will start with the opening ceremony featuring important remarks from our distinguished keynote speakers. Please join me, welcome Mr. Hee-Sung, Deputy Prime Minister of Korea. Please, with applause. Thank you.
안녕하십니까. 봉지아, 부에노스 디아스, 부총리 겸 기획재정부 장관 최상목입니다. 제라우드 아우키민 브라질 부통령님, 일란 고드파잉 미주개발은행 총
Geraldo Alckmin and the presidents of Inter-American Bank of Development, Ilan Goldfajn, President Hee-Sung Yoon, and the Executive Vice President Oiyoung. I would like to welcome you all to the second forum of Trade and Innovation of Korea, Latin America. I've heard that the first forum that took place in Mexico City last year was a huge success, with about 100 attendees, including business people and government employees from Korea and Latin America. And today, I have the pleasure to say welcome to you all in this beautiful city of Rio de Janeiro to start the second forum with the presence of attendees from Korea and the entire Latin America. So over the last 30 years, since the 1990s, when large-scale summit diplomacy between Korea and Latin America, the trade between the two regions enhanced over 10 times, and direct investments from Korea to Latin America increased over 220 times. In addition to that, Korea became a member of the Inter-American Bank of Development in 2005 and the Central American Bank of Economic Integration in 2000 to support the economic and social development in Latin America. In January this year, Guatemala has also officially signed the Korea-Central America Free Trade Agreement, increasing the total number of treaties signed between Korea and Latin America to 10. In February, the relations between Korea and Latin America took a new step forward with the establishment of diplomatic relationships with Cuba, the only country in Latin America with which Korea hadn't had established diplomatic relations. Dear guests, this is now the moment for Korea and Latin America to reap the fruits of their work and take our cooperation to the next level. And for that reason, I would like to show 3 guidelines for the future cooperation between Korea and Latin America. First of all, due to the recent increase in global uncertainty and the trend to reorganize the supply chain, Korea and Latin America should actively use complementary structures. Latin America is a resource-rich region with a growing middle class and a young population that offers a huge future growth potential. South Korean companies are also expanding their cooperation with Latin American companies in several sectors, including electrical vehicles, or in Mexico, or in Argentina and Chile, and textiles. In the future, we hope that the economic cooperation between Korea and Latin America goes on in a complementary and mutually beneficial way, using the transformative industry and abundant resources in Latin America and the excellent technological capacities of Korea. And to this end, the Korean government supports not only big corporations, but also small and medium companies, startups, research institutes, etc. We'll keep on offering opportunities to support networking, interchange, and technological cooperation and creation of business opportunities between Korea and Latin America and all the corporate ecosystem sectors. Second of all, Latin America is where the Amazon is, the biggest rainforest in the world and a huge carbon sink. It is also a very important region when it comes to the answer to global climate change. Countries in Latin America are currently promoting renewable energy industries as hydroelectricity and solar energy, leveraging what nature has to offer. On the other hand, Korean companies have world-class competitive technologies in areas such as solar energy and green hydrogen. Currently, a solar energy central is being built and explored in Mexico, and the Chilean and Korean governments are discussing ways to reinforce cooperation in the green hydrogen domain. We hope that the clean energy supply and technological cooperation between Latin America and Korea contribute to the stable supply of energy and decarbonization policies in the area, and lay the foundation to sustainable growth and cooperation. Third, the South Korean government intends to achieve shared prosperity between Latin America and Korea through the sharing of development experiences and the concession of financial support to development. We know that many countries in Latin America are fostering economic and industrial development plans, including Brazil, that has announced a new industrial policy in January this year. Recently, the Korean government has also announced a roadmap for a dynamic economy, whose main content is the reinforcement of the innovation ecosystem and the assurance of fair opportunities to maximize the dynamism inherent to Korean economy. And Korea intends to share its experience and know-how when it comes to economic development with Latin American countries in order to reach advantageous development for both countries. And also with the Korea Bank Trust Fund, we will identify excellent projects of cooperation in domains such as supply chain, renewable energies, and will widen our participation in the development of infrastructures in Latin America through EDCF. Dear guests, I heard that there is this saying in Brazil that says something like, "There's many a good tune playing an old fiddle." We hope very expectantly the growth of the friendship that we had between Korea and Latin America for over 60 years, and we hope that today's forum is a significant opportunity for Korea and Latin America to discuss long and medium-term partnerships. Thank you very much.
Now, let's please welcome Mr. Ilan Goldfajn, President of the Inter-American Development Bank. Please.
Bom dia a todos. Vou pedir para vocês falarem alto. 안녕하세요.
Thank you for being here today in the 8th edition of the Korea-LAC Trade and Innovation Forum. As we call it, Korea-LAC, it's great to see that many of you who have come from Latin America and the Caribbean and have also come from South Korea to be here as well. I remember the meetings that I've had here with many of you in September, last September, when I've been to Korea, and I'm happy to have you here now. It's an honor to be here with Jung, Hee-Sung, the president of the Export-Import Bank of Korea, Oiyoung, executive vice president of the Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency, and of course, Geraldo Alckmin, the vice president of Brazil and the Ministry for Development, Industry, Trade and Services of Brazil. And I've been told that I should thank especially to our ambassador of Korea in Brazil, Keynote, who's not only a respected diplomat, but also a very talented singer of Brazilian music. And he interprets Chitãozinho e Chororó, and he got viral. And I felt very close to that because I also had a video that went viral dancing. But it wasn't me. That was the difference. Now, today, I'm going to talk specifically about the commercial ties and investment ties between Brazil and Latin America and the Caribbean, including new opportunities that we can leverage with with Korean corporations. But before, I would like to dedicate some moments to share some figures, some conquests. Korea, South Korea, Latin America have been natural partners in several areas. For example, our regions share the commitment to values, democratic institutions, transparency, rule of law. We also have in common some priorities: clean energy, sustainability, growth. We admire each other's cultures. And you know that in Brazil and Mexico, there's the biggest amount of fans and consumers of K-pop in the world. And of course, we are always inspired by the success of Korea that left a position of lower income to higher income in just a few years. All that explains partially why we're partners. But also, we have to talk about the potential to integrate even more our regions. And that is why we're here today in this forum, this Korea Latin America Forum, to see the opportunities to keep on expanding our ties, to increase trade and investments, and to develop our partnership. Korea, Latin America, and the Caribbean have had a long history of integration between public and private sectors. The IDB has been supported for a long time. These negotiations in the next year are going to celebrate 20 years that Korea has entered as a member of the bank. 20 years. And for sure, Korea became a development partner that's truly fundamental for a region. Over the last 20 years, Korea has entered with over 2 billion for this region. And our group wants to be and will keep being the bridge between Latin America and Caribbean. And it's in this event that we are going to leverage the opportunities for business. And this meeting has been very successful. The bilateral trades of goods has achieved a record of $65 billion in 2022. And now we have a superávit that Korea has of 15% in comparison to 50% in 15 years ago, which shows that it's a very symmetrical partnership. In the last year, Korea's investment in the region has also reached $63 billion, which is a higher trend to diversify. And if we keep integrating our economies, we'll be even better positioned to talk about environmental and geopolitical issues at the same time that we will turn our supply chains, make them more resilient. And the agricultural products imports for Korea, they grew 20% over the last 4 years. And they now represent 16% of the Korean imports in this area. And there's much more to do. Korea-LAC is important, and that is why we have several sessions here of what we call matchmaking, to bringing companies from the two areas together. In the last round of meetings and matchmaking rounds last year, companies participated and they immediately generated over almost $50 million in business only through matchmaking. I hope that this year we have new events and we turn not only the matchmaking and these direct relationships, but also we generate an indirect impact over our economics. Let me just tell you how Korea relates with this region through IDB. And I say there are 4 areas. One of them is what we call the Korea Trust Funds that come through us. Korea has created several trust funds for several reasons: poverty, to foster technological innovation, to promote the private sector development, to improve the management of the public sector. Till the end of the last year, Korea has contributed to $236 million through these funds that have supported 600 projects from state reformation and development of science and technology. And we also have an advantage that is the Korea Infrastructure Facility, the KIF, which is a fund that supports IDB's mandates to support economic growth and reduce poverty through loans co-financing by governments. This year, for example, Korea has approved $100 million to the Energy Transition Program of Ecuador and another $7 million to the Health Belize program, and the fund has allocated $900 million in 18 projects in Latin America, financed by the IDB. This is a huge success, and I'm glad to announce that IDB and the Korea Export-Import Bank will sign today a memorandum of understanding through which KEXIM will supply $300 million additional to fund loans with a sovereign guarantee for the over 3 years. There's resources will fund future operations for infrastructure, energy, transportation, technology, and communications. And third, We worked with Korea at the Korean Knowledge Program. Korea promotes the development of the region by sharing its knowledge and experience and in development through Korean Knowledge Sharing Program. Since 2011, we have used this program to share experiences in public policy, to disseminate research to help countries strengthen their public institutions. This knowledge program has supported 62 projects, which amounts to 18.5 million. And the fourth point, and last but not least, we have direct collaborations with the private sector. Our private branch that finances companies is the IDB Invest, highest financed the Jamaica Public Service Company, $100 million. And what does it have to do with Korea? Well, Korea, through East-West Power Korea, was a partial funder. And before I get to the end, I would like to tell you that we have launched the IDB for the Americas, which is a way for companies to bet through IDB in Latin America. And there are three components that are helping them with. One, in procurement, in purchasing, in projects. We are giving all information about all projects that we have in Latin America. We fund an annual average only regarding this procurement projects, 4.4 billion, and we can show 12,000 projects a year to share with these companies for them to be part in public procurement. We have to show more information. We have the IDB Center, we have IDB for America, and then a new app especially for them. We have to bring in Korean companies, they have a success rate every time they get into a public bidding in our projects of almost 60%. So please come, be a part of the projects that we have. It's any of the 12,000 contracts that the success rate of Korea has been relatively high. And these projects, many of them are infrastructure projects. The region needs to invest. Our region needs to inject at least 3% of the GDP, about $2.2 trillion. And this is the goal of sustainable development for us to reach sustainable development.
The second pillar is funding, and count on us for companies that come to Brazil to fund projects in Brazil or in Latin America. And finally, trade regulations. We will help you to navigate in our laws, regulations, and how to participate in the trade in Latin America. So to wrap up, I would like to reinforce that there is a potential in this region to help to have companies, Korean companies, and the Korean government. They have opportunities in Brazil and in Latin America. We have the honor to work with you to deepen our bonds and to help everybody through common platforms, Korea-LAC, and also Bid for Americas. And before wrapping up, I'd like to reinforce that next year we will celebrate 20 years, and the Korea-LAC will happen in South Korea next year. We hope to see you next year in South Korea. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sir Ilan, for your nice words. And this is our first plenary session, and we will approach this theme. And so, o senhor Ilan,
The language. Eu gostaria de convidar agora ao palco o vice-presidente, ministro para desenvolvimento, indústria, comércio e serviços da
for the Vice President and Minister for Development, Industry, Trade and Service of Brazil, Mr. Geraldo Alckmin. Good morning to you all. I would like to give my best wishes to Hee-Sung, Mr. Ilan Goldfajn, Yoon Hee-Sung, Chairman and President of the Bank of Korea, and Oiyoung, Executive Vice President, Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency. Friends, it's a great honor to be here in this meeting. We have 65 years of diplomatic relationships, friendship, partnership, an important trade relationship, investments from both countries and Korean companies in Brazil. I remember that when the São Paulo government, when they built and they opened Hyundai Motors in Piracicaba, and Hyundai Rote trains, the second largest Roten factory in the world in Araraquara. And I'm quite sure that this meeting will help our external trade, and also investments. Brazil this year, it's the 8th largest economy in the world, with very good indications, and the risk of the country fell from 260, 254 to 160. This is the risk of the country. Inflation fell from 4.5 to 3.7, and unemployment fell to 7.1, and we approved the tax reform, which simplifies and stimulates investments and exports, because it helps the investments and exports, and they end with the cumulative, and this will give an impulse to our economies. IPEA studies show that the tax reform will increase GDP in 12%, and investments in 14%, and exports in 17%. Mercosul was increased. Bolivia came in to Mercosul, and Mercosul is an important bloc to our area, and Brazil responds for half of the GDP of the whole South America, and we have wonderful opportunities in renewable power, SAF, industry complex for health, for the and technology. And I'm quite sure that with IDB and Exim Bank from Korea, South Korea, will advance in this work. I have here our industry secretary of the Ministry of Industry, Wallace Moreira. He has lived in South Korea. He has worked there, and he also taught in the Seoul University. I'm not sure if he can speak Korean because he's from Bahia, the state of Bahia, so he knows everything. In Bahia, we are not born in Bahia. We have like a celebration. The last World Cup that Brazil won in 2002. We won the World Cup in South Korea and Japan. So I'm sure that with IDB and Exim Bank, we will advance further. And we are committed to democracy and committed to development. So I wish a very good work for everybody. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for your kind words, Mr. Vice President and Minister of Development, and like to apologize. And we will now invite our next speaker. So, vamos dar.
Hee-Sung, Chairman and President of the Export-Import Bank of Korea, with some applause, please. Thank you.
Hola, bom dia. 존경하는 최상목 부총리님, 일랑.
So, Your Excellent Vice Prime Minister, Mr. Ilan Goldfajn, Geraldo Alckmin, Vice President of Brazil, and Mr. Ambassador of South Korea, Lim Kim-jong, and distinguished guests and business leaders, good morning. I'd like to thank the Minister and Ambassadors, business leaders from Korea and Latin America, and to the distinguished guests present here. Welcome to the second Korea-Latin American Trade Innovation Forum. The Korea-Latin American Trade and Innovation Fair, which will be held for the second time this year, was first held in 2023. And our goal is to become a representative platform for exchanges between Korea and Latin America, serving as a strong bridge that bridges the geographic gap between Korea and Latin America, and as a venue for exchanges and economic cooperation opportunities. In this edition, there will be in-depth discussions on sustainable trade and investment between Korea and Latin America, as well as exploration of future areas of cooperation between Korea and Latin America, including consideration of sustainable agriculture and discussions on ways to expand foreign investment opportunities in Central and South America. So since the establishment of diplomatic relations with Brazil in 1959, Korea has developed its relations with Latin American countries beyond diplomatic friendship and economic and cultural cooperation. Since Korea became a member of the Inter-American Development in 2005, bilateral trade between Korea and Latin America has increased 2.5 times. Korean investment in Latin America has increased 20 times, and the amount of ADCF support to Latin America increased 14 times. So cooperation between Korea and Latin America has been steadily strengthening, including the current negotiations of free trade agreements with Mercosur. So in addition to economic cooperation, human and cultural exchanges between the populations of the two regions continue to grow, and Koreans began to enjoy Latin American coffee from Colombia and Guatemala on a daily basis, as well as Chilean and Argentinian wine. In Latin America, K-pop and K-dramas such as BTS and Round 6 have become increasingly popular, with 350 Hallyu clubs in Latin America and an estimated 12 million members. In recent years, Latin America has faced social and economic crises, such as the pandemic and natural disasters, but at the same time, it's also facing the greatest opportunity and transformation in its years. So in 22, Latin America's FDI flows reached a record 224.6 billion, an increase of 55.2% from 2021, and the region's share of renewable energy production reached 61% of electricity production from renewable energy, leading the global fight against climate change. So with a population of 6.5 billion people and abundant energy, mineral, food resources, we are preparing for the fourth industrial revolution. The Export-Import Bank of Korea has been promoting Korea's heavy chemical industry since its establishment in 1976. And in Latin America, we provided 5.4 billion in financing for large-scale projects such as metro, gas-fired combined cycle power plants, liquefied natural gas and copper mine developed in Panama, Mexico, Peru, and Chile. So, including uncertainties in global financial markets, disruptions to global supply chains, and energy security, the bank has expanded financial support to future strategic industry such as hydrogen, to environmentally friendly industries such as responding to climate change, and to strategic industries such as nuclear power plants and defense, including financial instruments, export finance, the EDPF, and a special account to support orders from countries with high risk. Furthermore, Korea's knowledge sharing program EDCF will continue to play a role in sharing Korea's economic growth model and experience to effectively respond to Korea's diverse development needs, Latin America, including climate change, responding to health crisis, and digital transformation. So there is a popular Brazilian saying that says, little stroke fell great oaks. So I hope that the second edition of the forum, and so I would like to will become partners in mutual understanding, recognition, so we can jointly solve various challenges facing the world and make a difference in the world. So I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the staff of the Ministry of Strategy and Finance, the IDB and KOTRA for their efforts in organizing the event. Thank you very much.
Very much, Mr. Hee-Sung. Now, please welcome Mr. Oiyoung, Executive Vice President of the Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency. Please.
최상목 경제부총리, 일란 고
President Export Sang-Mok, Your Excellency Vice President Ms. Sean Sang-Mok, Mr. Ilan Goldfajn, President of the IDB, Your Honor Geraldo Alckmin, Vice President of Brazil, and also Ms. Hee-Sung, President of the Export-Import Bank of Korea, and distinguished guests and business leaders, good morning. I would like to thank the minister, ambassadors, business leaders from Korea, Latin America, and this distinguished guests present here. And so I would like to thank everybody to organize this house. In the last years, we have several oscillations, and we have a change in the industrial, and in the middle of this crisis, it's very important to find partners to find, and I hope to have a great partner in this current thing. So, and besides we have these, we have the capacity, the productive capacity is in growing, and the proportion of the renewable energy is more than 60%, occupying the first, and we are having a leadership role in this climate crisis and also in the neutrality. Latin America is also accelerating the technology with the IA, IoT, and the cloud. And we have a cooperation with Korean companies in Latin America, and eGov, and also have the agreement we have with free commerce. It started with Chile in 2003 and increased for 10 countries, becoming the commerce 4 times better. The quota, together with IDB, will go on this win-win cooperation. In this event, we have many companies and clients from 9 countries, from several countries, and we hope that this is an opportunity that we have these cheeky Korean companies. And I would like to also speak about, there is a popular say that whoever has a friend has a treasure. And so Korea and Latin America, they have a long friendship for over 60 years. And I hope that today's forum will be a meaningful opportunity for Korea and Latin America. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Oiyoung. Thank you, gentlemen, for such welcome and inspiring remarks to get us started. Let's give them, again, a warm round of applause. This one. Thank you very much. You can please take your seat back to the audience. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I want to just take a minute to say hello to everybody who is also watching us in your home, in your office, by our transmission, our e-streaming transmission. So thank you very much for being with us as well. We will now begin our first plenary session of the day, titled Bid for the Americas, a Bridge for Enhanced Korea-LAC Trade and Investment. This session will explore opportunities to enhance trade and investment between regions. Please welcome to our stage the moderator of this session, Fabrizio Operti, Manager of the Integration and Trade Sector at the IDB. Please. And our esteemed panelists. Dilian Francisca Toro, Governor of Valle del Cauca, Colombia. Sea bienvenida. Ailton Nascimento, Global Executive Vice President, Stefanini Group, Brasil. Seja muito bem-vindo. Hu Ju-hin, former Chief of Staff for Policies, Prudential Office of Korea. Hee-Sung, Executive Vice President of Strategy and Planning Division, Hanwha Vision, Korea. And now the floor is yours. Thank you, Fabrício. Thank you.
Thank you. Obrigado. Bom dia a todos e todas. Iniciaré minhas breves palabras en una oportunidad multiprofesional Bienvenidos a Korea-LAC Trade and Innovation Forum.
Welcome to Korea-LAC. It's a great pleasure to be once again in Brazil. And it's the biggest economy in the area. It's the country that exerts actually currently the presidency of G20. It's an even bigger pleasure to be in the wonderful city in Rio de Janeiro, the capital of Brazil until the year 1960. This is the only city in another continent that has been the capital of an European country that has natural, incomparable natural beauties, and is the engine of the second biggest economy in the world, that is the state of Rio de Janeiro. So this is Uruguayan brother is going to talk in English.
Korea-LAC forums back in 2007 in Seoul. This is our 8th edition, bringing the event to the region once again, this time to Brazil and to Rio de Janeiro in the context of this G20 presidency. It's an enormous privilege to be in front of all of you today. There are many listeners also through the web streaming that are following these panels. And this forum, it's about the opportunity to strengthen and to build closer bridges between Korea and Latin America and the Caribbean. Long gone are those days where both Korea or our region were looking inward. We have been looking outward for a very long time. And our trade and investment, the bilateral, have reached record levels. You will have access to our publication, our research that we have carried out for this event, a very important piece of research on the trade, investment, and cooperation between our regions. So I'd like to give that context to this conversation. This is also about innovation and trade. And there's a big link between technologies, digitalization, particularly artificial intelligence, and trade and investment. Actually, PricewaterhouseCoopers made a study and a calculation that only artificial intelligence will boost the GDP of Latin America and the Caribbean by over 5% by 2030. So this is a growth shock that these technologies are having, and much of this event is about innovation, trade, and technology. In terms of the bilateral relationship, I would say it's characterized by 3 Fs. The first one is fast growth. Few countries, few products. Fast growth because we're reaching $60 billion. That's more than 5 times what it was 20 years ago. That's the bilateral trade in goods. So very fast growth. Yet few countries, Mexico, Chile, Brazil, Peru, and Argentina account for 90% of the bilateral trade between our regions. And then few products. LAC exports to Korea have been concentrated in primary commodities, mainly fuels and mining and agricultural products, and the imports have been manufactured goods, especially cars, chips, and ICT goods. There's also a very interesting dynamic of foreign direct investment that has been growing from Korea in the region, in certain specific sectors. Our region is critical for the energy transition. We have the critical minerals and the rare earths that will fuel that transition, and in that area, Korea has been very active. There's also been Latin America investment in Korea in different sectors. So to generate those opportunities, to bring us together, is what the IDB and its program Bid for the Americas is about. And that we will have in this conversation, we will exchange on those ideas. Bid for the Americas, remember our president, Ilan Goldfajn, said it before, procurement, trade and investment, co-financing. If any country wants to look at the region, we're going to very actively promote those three pillars from the IDB as a group in order to continue expanding that very important collaboration and relationship. Of course, to do that, we have to lower barriers, like the electronic single window we're funding here in Brazil, with the Vice President, Geraldo Alckmin, and in his role as Minister of Trade and Industry, which is lowering the costs and the times to do trade. We need more investment agreements. We need more double taxation agreements to lower regulatory barriers. We need to lower the regulatory barriers, lower the information costs, which is much about this, promotion, and lower the logistics and transportation costs, which are still high. There's much to do. That entails also, paradoxically, economic opportunities, investment opportunities for Korea to improve that infrastructure in our region. So that's the context, that's the playing field, and with that, I turn to my first dear panelist. Voy a pasar, en este caso, a español. Debo ser la tortura de los intérpretes simultáneos y me disculpo con ellos que hacen una gran labor. Pero tenemos aquí a Dilian Francisca Toro, la gobernadora del Valle del Cauca de Colombia. Bienvenida, gobernadora. Un gusto tenerla aquí. Me gustaría empezar preguntándole, gobernadora, ¿qué oportunidades justamente ve para el Valle del Cauca en poder aprovechar este tipo de encuentros, este tipo de asociaciones?
Going to bring to Valle del Cauca, and our programs are social and investment and associations and trade associations with Korea. For example, now we have signed a collaboration agreement with Goldfajn to we have signed it today, and it has to do with the cooperation, the technical cooperation of the IDB that is non-refundable, and to be able to get to know us and work jointly with startups, for example, as the Prime Minister of Korea says, and not only big companies, we also have to do with small companies and small entrepreneurs and high impact, high technological impact entrepreneurs, and also to sort out entrepreneurial challenges, technological challenges that are necessary, for example, to strengthen an innovation district and AI that we have in Valle del Cauca that is a trade-free zone. And we are looking for to be able to fund this and to be able to reach concrete things in which we can have this work done. And we have also been having investments with Kotra in Korea, and we've had conversations in which we were able to show our competitive advantages. For example, everything that has to do with biotechnology, renewable energies, decarbonization, and all that we have in the Valle del Cauca. And what helps us precisely is to concretize the conversations that we have and turn them into reality. And we talked in Korea about the infrastructure project, and to be able to reach in the right moment to review these projects and to find the right funding. And we are about to sign a collaboration agreement with the business agency of Seoul. And what we want is to have open innovation processes both for Seoul and Korea in general, and also Valle del Cauca, and also to sort out corporate challenges that need to be solved, and knowledge transfer, everything that has to do with digital content that interests us very much. And we've been working a lot in the department in the Strait of Valle del Cauca. And really, it's been very interesting because it gives us the opportunity that the bank can support us in how to make these dialogues become real and have this conversation and these collaborations, and for them to become true for us, as we're going to do today, to sign this first collaboration agreements. Thank you very much, Governor. You've been a exemplary partner, and you're also a medical doctor, and you're very interested in scientific subjects. And it's a pleasure to work with you and your team. And Alto Nascimento.
He's from Rio. And he's Global Vice President for Stefanini Group. Stefanini Group is an example of a Brazilian multi-Latina turned global in the IT services area. Stefanini has offices in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. I know Marco Stefanini personally, exemplary individual and entrepreneur from our region. Ailton, can you provide us examples of successful collaborative projects between Stefanini Group and Korean companies in particular?
Thank you, Fabrizio. Thank you for IDB for this invitation. It's a big pleasure to be here. Actually, we are still discussing about projects we can do together. So we have approached it. We have done some meetings with Korean companies like Samsung, Hyundai, and others, because we believe first we can add, because we have done good projects with high-tech companies like Apple, Google, and an automotive with Toyota in the US, adding new technologies based on AI, etc. However, we understand and we believe that to bring innovation from Korea to our region would be amazing, because Korea is now, because of the high level of innovation they have delivered to the world. And we believe that we can create a very interesting and strong collaboration between Korea and Latin America. So we are investing our best efforts to do this. My boss, you mentioned Marco Stefanini, has visited Korea at least 3 times the last 12 months in order to first understand the market, to invest there, to create an operation and a Stefanini operation in Korea. So we have been in Seoul along these trips. And also how to bring and how to create the bridge between Korea and Brazil in terms to create this interchange of technology between our countries. Stefanini is very specialized in bringing technologies to other countries. So we understand very well how to create, how to establish a good environment for high-tech companies to start a new operations in other locations in partnership with us. We have done this in a successful history. I mentioned Toyota, for example, but we have done with many companies. So I believe that the conversations we started with Samsung will create a first step to establish this partnership, technology partnership. But we are, as I said, we are investing our best efforts. I was talking to Mr. Jung minutes ago, and I knew in a very quickly conversation, I knew some history of innovations of new solutions, mainly in health and telcos, in telecom, that can be used here, like a solution they have developed for telecom to create a point of telecom that covered 20 kilometers in a small pack. So it's amazing. That can be used in many places here in Latin America. So I believe this interchange would be very rich. So let's see if we have successful with this. But so far, we still don't have this project in place. But we believe in the near future we will do.
Thank you, Ailton, and hopefully we can facilitate as well and be part of that.
I believe so.
Yes. There's a lot of, more than 100 Koreans that came here. There's startups. There will be pitches in the afternoon with Mr. Kim will be transferring know-how. So there's a lot of more going on than just these conversations, which is part of the key objectives. We now turn to Mr. Lee. Welcome, Hee-Sung Lee, former Chief of Staff for Policies in the Presidential Office of Korea and former Minister of Economy and Finance. So it's really a pleasure and an honor to have you here. We would like to ask you very simply if you can elaborate from your standpoint on the importance on strengthening economic, commercial ties between Korea and our region.
Yes, thank you for the introduction, Mr. Operti. I have 4 main points. First, since the 1990s, the trade between Korea and the LAC has increased more than tenfold, and FDI has increased more than 270 times. It is a remarkable achievement, but there is still more prospect for growth in trade and investment, considering economic size and development potential of the LAC and complementary economic and industrial structure of the 2 regions. The second point is related to the changing world order. Strategic competition between the US and China has intensified over the past few years, and even advanced economies are joining the race of industrial subsidy and protectionism. In such a faltering global economic environment, Korea needs trade partners to enhance its stability of resources and mineral supply, while the LAC needs reliable investment partners, particularly in new technologies, software, and digitalized and decarbonized infrastructure. If the LAC seeks to expand its regional production base by utilizing the US's nearshoring policy, Korea can be counterpart with reliability and willingness. The third point is that Korea has a relative strength and needs as a partner. It is technologically advanced and has accumulated a lot of experiences in sectors of digital transformation and carbon neutrality. Korea has very different attitude and approach from existing powerhouses. It is not threatening and respect the positions of counterparts and willingly share the benefits based on long-term trust. On the other hand, Korea currently faces significant challenges of aging population and slowing growth, while in the LAC, young population is large and the middle class is growing. Finally, there is a growing mutual connection between the people of the two regions. Korean culture, such as K-pop, K-drama, and K-beauty, has been widely loved in the LAC, and there has been increased consumption in Korea of Latin American wine, coffee, fruits, Latin music and art, and tourism. Korea and the LAC have also common experiences of challenging process of industrialization, democratization, and struggling social conflicts. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your very on target, I would say, reflections. I really take the comment on the culture. It's very, very important, and it applies to music, to animation, to sports as well. You're big football fans, soccer fans, just like we are in Latin America. Mr. Kim.
Yes.
Welcome, Executive Vice President of Strategy and Planning Division at Hanwha Vision. So, from your perspective, Mr. Kim, how does Hanwha's vision strategy align with what we're talking about of bolstering trade and investment between our regions? And how does this conversation and the Bid for the Americas program can be leveraged to do more?
먼저 말씀하신 주제에 들어가기 앞서 이렇게 중요한 무역 트레이드 이노베이션
In this, I'm very happy to be here to participate in this area. And there is many people that they don't know our company. It's a large company like Samsung and Yoon, but we are among the 500 largest companies in South Korea. We work with the chemical area, financing, constructions, and we are one of the 7th largest companies. Our group through these similar forums, we are acting more actively to invest in other countries. So in this group, I am and I belong to Vision, Hana Vision. And I work with systems and products. 90% of the whole company's revenue, Hana Vision participates, and a large part is generated in Latin America. So we have Hana Vision here, and we care about Latin America because you have a large potential, and we have plans to invest in this area. In 2023, to increase the market share, we established a company in Mexico, and we hired many Mexican citizens, and we are also improving our participation there. So this bid for America, for us, the networking, we have used these funds, and we want to act and stimulate the growth in Latin America, and we want to grow as a company, as a global company, and we want to establish and strengthen our relationship with Latin America. This program, you spoke about 3 different areas, and you spoke about the opticals, we have ships, and we have also other areas, analysis of artificial intelligence and the infrastructure. The bid for the Americas can be very interesting areas. Our products are, for example, we have hackers, and the information safety, information security is a UR. We have certifications for more reliable products for the cyber security. So Haiwa is very known for cyber security, and these products, they can be used for services and products for companies in Latin America. This bid for Americas, through these products, if we go to Latin America, we can contribute in a way for the companies in the area. HANA Vision has technologies, and they have digital infrastructure, and we can contribute with our participation.
Before turning into the next round of questions in the second half of our panel, also mention that these are very specific products. So it's not just words, it's not just ideas. Bid for the Americas as platforms. And I would invite you, if you haven't joined, connectamericas.com. It's in Portuguese, it's in English, and it's in Spanish. It's an online B2B platform where you can find all of this information. You can connect to millions of entrepreneurs. It's for free. It's sponsored by the IDB, and it serves as the platform to connect all of these programs that we're mentioning. So you will have access there to the procurement information, to contacts, to register your company as well. So very important platform to mention for all of us, all of those that are listening to us. Gobernadora, pasando a la segunda pregunta, y entrando un poquito más, haciendo doble clic en el Valle del Cauca. ¿Qué sectores del Valle, que usted ya explicó bien dónde quedaba y su potencial, pero qué sectores más particulares, más específicos, están bien posicionados para beneficiarse de estas oportunidades de comercio e inversión, particularmente con Corea?
Bueno, en el Valle del Cauca lideramos el tema de desarrollo sostenible e innovación tecnológica.
Innovation, and we are very strong in these subject areas, and we have a diversity, our richness, our natural resources. We are the second largest biodiversity region, and we have to celebrate it. We have a value in COP that you are invited, and we have a human capital which is very well formed, and we have certified structures, and we have also a strategy that is called Green Valley, how we can show to the world our potential in the theme of decarbonization and also the sustainable economic development. We value our environmental assets, and we have an energy matrix 99% renewable and clean, and we have all biofuels, biomass, and we have biological material to be recycled, and we have the whole agricultural themes, and also we have the potential to have these environmental assets that will be converted in something different to companies that will go to the Cauca Valley, because they will have the productivity from the raw materials, sustainable raw materials, and they have plenty of opportunities to be certified environmentally speaking. So I believe that this is a very good added value, and we have this in several areas. The first is the agro industry. We have a large development, and we export 1 million tons of sugar and 500 tons of coffee. So the value is have a large production. And we have over there the industry that we have biomass over there as well. And this richness that we have some diversified, we have SAF, which is a biofuel for aviation, biofuel, and also methane gas that has to do with biomass. And we've been partnering with Korea, and I believe cosmetology is important to Korea. We have organic and vegetal and botanic part that we can work with, and has to do with the whole, we are generated what we call green chemical. And we have biofuels, and we have 6 biofuels plants from 7 plants. 6 are in the Valle del Cauca, the Cauca Valley. And we have green fertilizers, and this is an advantage. So we don't have any other department in Colombia, and you have studies that we've been doing this, and these are very competitive advantages. And as we mentioned before, technology innovation, and it's something that we are looking for this partnership with Korea to have innovation and also technology and artificial intelligence. And we have a human capital, important one, and we have these 3 issues that are fundamental to the Korean investors. They can invest. We have to generate more economic development, more employment, and we are looking for bridging these gaps, and we are explaining you all the competitive issues that we have in the Cauca Valley. I hope that you convinced everybody.
It's a sustainable valley. That's the value proposition and the reality. We're also supporting, we must say, the governor and her team with the innovation districts, with Korea. And so this is going on, not just an idea, but an action plan that is being advanced. So for all those Korean companies thinking about Colombia and El Valle del Cauca, we're there to facilitate. Milton, Ailton, what some also double clicking, Ailton, on specific opportunities in the tech area. You mentioned some elements, but to get a little more specific on what sectors of opportunities you see, so that the companies as well get an idea.
Okay, Fabrizio. Well, I think, see, we have opportunities in the region for big projects like infrastructure, for big investments. I think there are a few opportunities in the world for these big investments. Here, for example, is one. So you can invest a lot of money in big projects with very good return. Going to my size, so talking about high-tech companies, I think we have today many opportunities in areas like security, for example. You know that we have, in our group, we have a budget of 1 billion for acquisitions. And for this periods, and we acquired 2 security companies recently in order to improve and to strengthen our cybersecurity tower. But it's not only for cyber, but physical security as well. Infrastructure, security infrastructure, in order to monitor environments and crimes, etc. It's a big problem here in Brazil. My colleagues, Brazilians, knows very well about that. And it's an area of opportunity. Another area of opportunity in Brazil, big ones for tech, high tech, is ESG. So there are a lot of big projects, ESG projects. I will not mention the names of companies, but there are companies investing a lot of money. A big one, mining and steel company, is investing 600 million in a ESG project in order to improve their mining business to be more green and clean in terms of, in order to protect the environment. So it's a big opportunity. However, we have much more, like in health. We need a lot, we still have a lot of opportunities for digitalization in health. So digital solutions that can improve diagnosis and health monitoring and other kind of needs they have is a big space. So a big space of investments and opportunity to bring technology. AI is, I don't need to mention AI because everybody is hearing about AI everywhere. But AI is a big opportunity for all areas, mobility, consumer, banks, automotive, everything, everywhere. We are investing a lot in AI. We have developed a lot of AI solutions as well. So this is an area that we can bring more and more solutions and ideas. So there are a big space to innovate with AI yet in the market. So this is a summer of opportunities, but there are much more. Telecom, energy, clean energy. So there are many opportunities here.
Thank you, Ailton, and super interesting. The focus on AI is another big area that I think we can benefit with Korea as well on that transfer of know-how. And going to that, Mr. Lee, and drawing from your experience in particular, you spoke about the potential. Can you give us, with your vast experience, some examples which are illustrative of this great potential between our regions?
Yes, I note the Korean private enterprises are increasingly investing in new sectors in the LAC, They are actively seeking the logistical safety and convenience for the regional market, including North America, and responding to the changing global supply chains and seizing opportunities amid technological innovations. For example, Kia Motors and POSCO International are expanding their electric vehicle production base in Mexico. And Hanwha Vision is investing in smart city projects in Peru, Colombia, and Brazil. And POSCO Holdings and LG Energy Solution are expanding their investment in lithium supply chain in Chile and Argentina. Textile and clothing companies like Hanse and Young are establishing new factories in Guatemala. In the sector of official development cooperation, the collaboration between the Korean government and IDB is impressive. Over the past 20 years, the IDB has managed 4 Korea Trust Fund, executing over 600 projects. Recently, Korea's EDCF, Economic Development Cooperation Fund, and IDB initiated a new co-financing facility, KIF. The EDCF has set a total commitment of limit of 1.9 billion US dollars. And the IDB handles project evaluation, loan agreement, fund disbursement, and post-project management. This collaborative work addresses the issue of information asymmetry, speeding up project implementation, and reducing cost of searching and monitoring. Particularly Brazil, being the first country in the region to establish diplomatic relations with Korea, and the key nation in Korea-LAC economic ties is well recognized by many Koreans, including myself. As a long-standing major player in energy, minerals, and food resources, Brazil is expected to enhance its status as a global supply chain hub amid the changing world order. In the Korea-Brazil relationship, there is potential for wider cooperation in areas such as e-government, smart city, smart farming, 5G telecommunication, healthcare, and zero-carbon energy system, including green hydrogen and ESS, energy storage system. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lee. Undoubtedly, lots of potential. Many of the elements you mentioned have been supported by our Office of Global Partnerships, and we're going to hear very soon from my colleague, my friend Matthias Vendersky, who has been a key player in the relationship between the IDB Group and Korea as well. So we'll go more into depth, Matti, with those very important elements that you mentioned. So Mr. Kim, you have the last couple of minutes to give us a little bit of our reflection on the future, on your plans for the future. A company like yours can really inspire us to do many more things. So the floor is yours.
지금 모니터에서 남은 시간 1분 정도 남아 있다고 이렇게 표시가 되고 있습니다. 사실 한화 비전 엄청나게 많은데 시간이 얼마 없는 관계가
Well, since time is short, I'm going to speak very quickly. In HANA Vision, we want to expand to the security area, cybersecurity area. And the biggest market that we see is the Brazilian market. And as manufacturing services, we are looking for partners that help us in production so that we can work in this area, such as you said, Brazil has a lot of problems in the area of cybersecurity and security in general. And as I said before, our company is looking for general areas in America through the supply chain. So we want to work in this area to supply planning investments in Mexico to improve supply of products. And we've been studying this work. And in Latin America, to Latin America and the Caribbean, we would like to improve our income, not only in Mexico City, but also we'd like to open offices in other areas of Latin America to leverage this opportunity.
I would like to say to the audience that from the IDB, we're analyzing those value chains. We're doing research on those sectors, which is available to all of you, from semiconductors to critical minerals, to the agricultural sector, even to video games. We have in each of those what we call verticals, lots of content and knowledge, and that's also part of that value offering, both that we do in terms of knowledge and finance. So with that, we close this panel, which undoubtedly is very telling about this great potential we have. And thank you so much. Go for a round of applause for our panelists.
Gracias.
Thank you very much to our moderator and panelists. Can you just gathering together so we can take a picture, official picture? Thank you very much. And while they are taking the picture, I just want to thank everybody who is watching us through home, hundreds of people through all the regions, through the IDB's official channel. So thank you very much for being with us. And as Ilan said, hopefully all the discussions will turn into real achievements. That's what we are hoping for. And as our moderator said, just remind that you can go through the first platform dedicated to promote trade and international investment, connectaamericas.com. Connect with double N, connectaamericas.com. Okay? Okay, thank you very much. Well, now we have a special presentation on collaborative frontiers, charting the course of the Korea IDB partnership since 2005. This session will highlight major initiatives that have driven development in LAC, focusing on trade, investment, infrastructure, digital transformation, and institutional capacity. Please welcome to the stage Matthias Bendersky, Manager of the Office of Outreach and Partnerships at the IDB. Please welcome with a warm round of applause.
Okay, good morning to everybody. I have the presentation there. Bon dia, annyeonghaseyo. I always go to Korea, I say a few words in Korean, and they ask me if I'm from North Korea, so my accent probably is not very good in Korean. My name is Matthias Bendersky. As I was presented, I am the manager of the Office of Outreach and Partnerships. And I'm really honored to be here to explain a bit about what IDB does, that the partnership that the IDB has created with Korea and with Korean institutions. And really, I feel really part of this story that we have. The story of IDB and Korea, it's not only, to talk about the IDB and how good and how great we are with our partners, but it's actually to tell you that you should, as you can see, take full advantage of what we do. What we do is actually for our companies in the region, for our governments in the region, and this is what I'm going to present through our partnership. President Ilan and the Deputy Prime Minister, alongside, of course, our friends, the President CEO of Kexim, and Cotra, and of course the Vice President of Brazil. But especially President Ilan and Deputy Prime Minister spoke a little bit about, and the President of Kexim spoke a little bit about, and highlighted some of the things that we're doing. I'm going to go a little bit deeper in this 20 years of collaboration. So I wanted to start by stressing the cultural parallel that exists between Korea in Latin America. The Koreans are known to be the Latinos of Asia. And it's really true. Having been there about 20 times, I can tell you that this is not short of what happens when we Latins go to Korea. We really feel at home. This is a really vibrant, really vibrant people that resembles a lot of what we experience here in Latin America. And the values are there, as you can see, familia, family, the friends, food. It's really a pleasure to be there and connect deeply. So starting a bit with the history, and this was told before, Korea has joined as the 47th member of the IDB, the second Asian nation to join the bank. This is done through the Ministry of Finance, but within the Ministry of Finance, KEXIM has played a major role to get closer to the region and through the IDB. What we really looked for when we started discussing this was a sustainable development and really mutual prosperity for between Korea and the LAC region. This is a bit of the timeline. As you can see there, Korea joined, in 2005. I just said the journey goes with the, it starts with the 2007 Korea-LAC Trade and Investment Forum as a major starter for SMEs connecting through IDB and through KEXIM and KOTRA in Korea with other SMEs in Seoul. Actually, this was Seoul, and this was my first event at IDB. So I was there in 2007, and I was there with some of my colleagues here that are in front row. We started slow, really, because we started slow because in 2011 we put together the knowledge sharing program. The knowledge sharing program, it's a program that was told before, is actually to bring the fantastic development story of Korea to Latin America and the Caribbean through many of the things that Korea has advanced. Many were said here: infrastructure, ICT, information and communications technology. Why not things that have to do with e-health, e-education. There were several topics in which Korea was excelling, pharmaceutical production. Many of the things that I can tell you, I can attest, and I can show you a bit later what is it that we have done. Then Korea has, when they joined the bank, they put together some trust funds, which is grant funding that goes to towards operations at IDB that are managed by our IDB operational teams, and that help really countries in capacity building or designing of projects that will come later in forms of developing loans. There was a big landmark in our relationship, which is the annual meeting in Busan. A lot of things were decided here in Busan. We still call the Busan Declaration as one of our landmark documents that created our private sector arm, or actually our private sector was embedded within the IDB, and this is where we merge out our private sector arm towards an institution called Inter-American Investment Corporation, that which its branding commercial name is IDB Invest. This is a little bit of the start of the partnership. As I said before, some of the Korean trust funds that were put together that you can see there. One is the poverty reduction and social development. That was a big interest of Korea to help the region in poverty reduction and social development. But then also they always had this idea that they could be a major source of ideas and knowledge on information and communication technologies. So there was another fund created at the time, $25 million for the technology and innovation fields. And then last but not least, the Korean Private Sector Development Fund that was also focused on innovation. There were several staff exchanges between IDB and Korea. Many institutions and ministries from Korea were actually wanting to place people within the IDB and to get closer to see how we did manage our operations at the IDB and get closer to the region through us. Then there was a growth of the partnership phase in which we really have done major things. As you can see there, we created this knowledge sharing program, and this is a program where we bring directly Korean knowledge to our operations. Usually there is a need that an operation exists. So we present, and this has been a success within the IDB. We make an internal call and say who wants Korean experience in their projects, who needs Korean experience, and usually we get tens of dozens of ideas from our operational teams that they really want to bring, this knowledge into their operations. But this is entirely outsourced. This is done by our friends in Korea that do the contracting of firms in Korea with Korean background, with Korean expertise to bring and help in our projects. So this is something that we're really proud of. There was an additional trust fund, also public capacity building and economic development that was created. So, we measure our success with our partners when they come and want to do more with us. And that's exactly the case of Korea, that, we always build upon what we have. We always go and try to do more. And we have great reception with our Korean partners. And this is because it's a real mutual trust that has been created and maintained throughout the years. And this is not only the office I represent, this is the operational units of the IDB, the ones that actually are behind of the projects. I think Fabricio mentioned the many Korea-LAC business forums that we have put together. And this contrasts a bit with this is the second Korea-LAC Innovation Summit in the region, but we have done, as Fabricio told you, many more in Korea, and next year there is a big one coming because it's the 20-year anniversary of the relationship, actually, of Korea joining the IDB. So the real leap of the relationship, the real step forward, and where we can say that we could take the relationship one step further was from 2015 to 2009, and this is what I explained before about Busan, the Busan Declaration, the birth of IDB Invest, but also we started with something that was very small in the beginning. That was the Korea Infrastructure Co-Financing Facility. This is when we present Korea pipeline of projects to co-finance with us. This is lending. But this is not any lending. This is for our member countries, for our 26 member countries in the region, this is cheaper lending. So this is really in the advantage of our member governments. We come along and we blend these resources with ours. So it makes our loans cheaper. Our loans are already below market rates, but this even takes it a notch further. This is actually more concessional than our own loans. And that's why it's so good. It's so good to the countries. It's so requested generally, and there's so much appetite to do more. But this is just the start. We started with 100 million. Let's see how this works. We do a previous consultation. We present the pipeline of projects, and then Korea chooses some of the projects that we present. As you can see there, some of the Korea-LAC business summits were also there. Many examples and numbers of the business that are behind, the SMEs doing business behind, were told before. I'm not going to go into the detail of really what is it that that we achieved, but we certainly have very good numbers in terms of the business that was created, that has been created. So in in the latest, I would say era, the one that we live now, in our relationship with Korea, you can see the picture there. This picture could be today. Today there was exact same picture happening in a room next door. But this is, to show you that always Korea has been where we need it. And an example of this is during COVID-19. There were a lot of needs, of course, not only for vaccines and medical supplies, but also for help in strengthening our public health ministries to help in the distribution of this medical or health equipment. So Korea was there. We requested, not only that Korea co-finance with us in policy-based loan in Paraguay that has to do with the public policy and fiscal management of the pandemic, the sanitary response, but also on the digital infrastructure that was needed to put in place for the effects or to cope with the effects of the pandemic. There were several replenishments there. Some are a little bit before this era, but you can see there were 2 replenishments of our trust funds. The trust funds is the grant funding that I told you before. And as you can see there were 2 big events happening between IDB and Korea-Exim, more prominently as a partner of us. But the one thing that we did that was very interesting is to create what we signed today, that is a second source of funding that comes along co-financing with us. So I told you about the KIF before, you were told about KIF before, and now we have another source within KEXIM with this, of course, the backing of the Ministry of Finance of another fund that we can tap in that also is concessional funding in nature. They're rushing me here, so I'm going to tell you about these numbers because I disaggregated in the presentation, but this is the aggregated amounts that you can hear. This is not minor. $1.9 billion were committed by Korea on concessional lending. And there is this new source of funds, the 300 million that was signed. We have identified other sources in the coming months that we can tap into. But look at that, the KTF, and we work with a lot of acronyms that you should not know, but the KTF is the Korean Trust Funds, contributed $236 million, and this is doações. This is grant funding. And then the KSP, as you see there, we're the largest user of the Korean knowledge sharing program, and this is $19 million in direct help from Korean experiences into our own projects into Latin America and the Caribbean. Collectively, I can say that the Korea-LAC Business Summit, the summits that you collectively have seen, facilitated about $700 million in business transactions. So, this is a number that is also amazing. I'm going to rush here. You're going to see some pictures, some of the things that we've done, some of the things that we've visited, some of the things that, are still going to shape what we do in the region. This is trying to bring the Korean development story, which is a good one, a great one, into Latin America and the Caribbean, having our public sector also learn from these experiences. I wanted to mention also then the procurement opportunities, in total with Korea, total $7.8 billion, and this is not minor. Some of the numbers are there, some of the things that we have done on the KSP, Korea-LAC Business Forum, what I just mentioned about what was just mentioned about the 2023 forum and how much this has panned out in terms of businesses, the procurement opportunities I just mentioned, and then I wanted to end up by saying that we do envision a future with together with Korea, helping us in trying to improve the social economic conditions, help us improve our climate resilience, our growth trajectories, and that we share a lot of values with Korea. And through Korea, we can access and help you. So thank you very much for this time to bear with me on this presentation, and this will be shareable. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Matthias. Thank you for that insightful presentation on the Korea IDB partnership. It's truly inspiring to see all the progress and collaboration that have been developed over the years, all the numbers, all the investments that has been injected during these years and in these relationships. So now, before presenting the next distinguished speakers, I would like to remind you to share, actually do an invitation for you to share your perspectives, insights, and lessons learned on social media using the hashtag Korea-LAC. This is the official one, so please use it, Korea-LAC, okay? Well, our next session is titled Innovative Approaches and Sustainable Agriculture to Combat Global Food Insecurity. Insights from LAC and Korea. This panel will explore the potential of innovation and sustainable agriculture in addressing global food insecurity. Please, let's welcome our moderator, Maher Guedes, Lead Officer of Agribusiness IDB Invest. Please. Welcome, seja muito bem-vindo. And our esteemed panelists. Jocelyn Malamud, CEO, Vero Group, Peru, please. Sea muy bienvenida. Fernando Presoto, CEO, Sempre Brasil. Francisco Jardim, General Partner, SP Ventures, Brasil. Seja muito bem-vindo. Jiu Chan Kim, SFO, LS Amtron, Brasil, Coreia. Hee-Sung, CEO of Bio Business for Americas, CJ Kainjijen, Korea. Well, the floor is yours, Maher, please. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We are very grateful of having each of you in this audience to treat and discuss and also understand the message that will be shared with a very selective group of panelists that we chose to bring here today. We understand that they have very concrete and rich information that may drive you to think a little bit more about points that we understand are of utmost importance. Okay, so welcome again to the Korea-LAC Trade and Innovation Forum. My name is Maher Kafruni, the surname. I am the lead investment officer for agricultural related activities of IDB Invest in Brazil. IDB Invest, as many of you may already know, is one of the pillars, 3 pillars of IDB Group. We have also IDB Lab, which is an incubatory that fosters, promotes, and helps innovative and entrepreneurs, innovation and entrepreneurs to implement, start new companies and grow, okay? Then we have IDB Invest, which focus more on companies of a certain larger size. And we have IDB Group that focus on sovereign-related or sovereign risk-related transactions. So we cover pretty much 360 degrees, and this is our main goal, being capable of really promoting economic development, but with a close eye at social and environmental improvement and positive impact. This is absolutely key for us in Latin America and in the Caribbean, okay? Said that, I would like to reinforce that we are very much grateful of having each of the panelists here. They were carefully chosen to be part of this panel, and they carry a lot of very rich insight and experiences, and we do believe that they will contribute a lot for the sake of what we are discussing today. So, said that, I would like to invite each of the panelists. First, Mrs. Yoselin Malamud, which is the CEO of Viru Group.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Yoselin Malamud. I'm CEO of Viru Group. Viru is a leading agro industry. It was founded in Peru 30 years, not only in Peru, but in Spain, France, Italy, and last year we started also in the US. As for me, I'm glad to say that I've worked for the company for over 20 years. In Viru, we have 3 lines of businesses. We have fresh, frozen, and preserved lines. We are the largest producers of fruits and vegetables in the preserved and frozen formats in Peru. We have from artichokes, asparagus, peppers, hearts of palm, avocado, mango, strawberries, and blueberries, among other sorts of produce. We have 12,000 hectares of land, and we give jobs to more than 17,000 people. Talking a little about the topic, the food insecurity is a very, very critical topic. And we as business leaders, it's our duty to address it and do whatever is in our hands to fight it. One thing that is very important is we have to bring together the private and the public sectors. In the case of the public sector, the government should pass laws promoting sustainable agriculture and innovation so farmers can receive financing and technical assistance. That's very important because in our countries we have big companies, but we have very small farmers. So it's very important to include all these small farmers into the supply chain. And for the private sector, we have to prioritize sustainability, consider all the local population in the supply chain, and of course provide well-paying jobs in all the part of the region. No? Just some examples we are doing as a group in these policies that have an impact. For example, we cherish clean energy. We've implemented solar panels not only in the field but also in the processing facilities. We have a policy of reusing 100% of our discard. We want to be 100% circular economy. For example, we do frozen avocado. From the discard of the frozen avocado, we do avocado oil, and from the discard of the avocado oil, we put it into the fields as manure. We work a lot in water reduction of water. Everything is with drip irrigation. Also, we have treatment plant facilities, so we reuse 100% of the water. The reduction of pesticides also. We have an integrated pest management program. We have, it's a very nice program. We breed our own insects, beneficial insects that we liberate. And we do a lot of other projects, but just wanted to mention some of them.
Yeah. Thank you, Mrs. Yoselin. Now we are going to invite Mr. Fernando Presoto, which is the CEO and owner of Sempre AgTech, to introduce himself and comment briefly on his perception about what has to be done in terms of engaging and trying to fight food insecurity, how to adopt innovation in that sense.
Bom, Mário, obrigado, prazer estar aqui com vocês, pessoal. Então, sempre nós trabalhamos com tecnologias agrícolas para grandes culturas na agricultura
Agriculture
tropical. A agricultura
technology.
tropical ela tem desafios bastante diferentes.
Tropical agriculture is very different when we speak about pressure from insects. So it's good to create technology in order to produce in these different conditions. And we want to use this culture. The first decade of our company, we were using corn, but now we are involved with soy, beans, also beans. And speaking about food insecurity, we've seen this in the past. By the end of the 18th century, Mateus, I don't remember his name, but the world population would grow geometrically, but food growth would be arithmetically. And at a certain point, we would not have food for the population. A global population would be 4 to 5 billion people, but what he didn't, he could not foresee that agriculture would have a large evolution. I've been working with this. I've been my whole life connected to agriculture. I was born in a farm. So we could not dream, even in science fiction, with the whole technology we have available. We have transgenic events, and I would like to ask you what governments can do to help. If governments could decrease the number of transgenic, and they did this 4 years ago. If we could lower this bar to lettuce, to tomato, and we could have a healthy food, because we use and we protect some harvest that comes from chemical products.
The general partner of SP Ventures.
Hi, good morning, everybody. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for the invitation. So SP Ventures is the largest ag tech venture fund in Latin America. We invest at the intersection of food security with supply chain crises such as climate change. Our investors include some of the biggest agribusiness companies in the world, including Syngenta, BASF, Yara, Mosaic, Bunge, Banco do Brasil. We have had the unwavering support since our inception by the IDB, also IFC, and several other DFIs. We believe that entrepreneurship powered by innovation and technology is the greatest way to surpass the problems Mr. Fernando just mentioned in being able to increase food production despite the challenges that we're currently facing. The categories we've been investing include building a new financial services industry tech-driven for farmers, so ag fintech. We've also been investing heavily in the transition to regenerative high productivity agriculture by building a domestic biological input industry. Today, Latin America is the most thriving dynamic biological input market in the world. Microorganisms, viruses that are complementing and substituting agri-chemicals. And excited to be here and to sponsor more collaboration between Latin America and Korea in food security and technology.
Thank you very much, Francisco. Now we are pleased to invite Mr. Hee-Sung from LSM Trong. He's the CFO.
Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Hee-Sung. I'm the CFO of LSM Trong, a tractor manufacturer based in Korea, and we started our operation in Brazil since 2012. We are not really a big player in tractor market in Brazil or worldwide, but our market share in Brazil is just 5%, but we are growing year by year. We had really a hard time in 2012. We almost closed our business in Brazil, but we really tried hard, and all the employees and leaderships got together and made a way to get over the difficulties at the time. Yeah, we are producing tractors, not so heavy, like under 150 horsepower models, and we are selling them in Brazil to 23 states in Brazil, and also we are exporting to Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, and Paraguay, and also to African countries. Okay, nice to meet you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sung. And we are very pleased to invite Mr. Lance Choi. He's the CEO for Bio Business for Americas of CJ Cheojedang.
Hello, I'm Lance Choi, the President and CEO of CJ Bio. CJ Bio is a part of CJ Group, and CJ Group is doing business 40 different countries in worldwide with around 25 billion US dollar of revenue. And we are focusing on the 4 different business categories. First one is food and food service, and the second is biotechnology, and the third is entertainment media. And the fourth one is retail and logistics. I've heard there are so many fans for the K-pop and the K-drama in LAC region, but I will focus on the biotechnology for today. And we already invested over 1.5 billion US dollar in North and South America only for bio business. And the bio business is the only way for the sustainable agriculture business in LAC region. So I want to talk more about fermentation business later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lance. Just an introduction for you guys. We will be covering certain important aspects that we understand are of utmost importance to make sure that food insecurity is properly fought, and conversely, food security is assured and improved as a need for not only the region or the country, but for the human beings in general around the globe, okay? Pretty much the content we are going to address: understanding global food insecurity, as I already mentioned, the role of innovation in Korea and Latin America in the context of that challenge, sustainable agricultural practices and financing, and last but not least, the impact of regulation, trade, and innovation knowledge transfer agreements, which is quite important in the context of sharing thoughts and knowledge so that the world can evolve more equitable, okay? To address those points, we will invite each of the panelists to answer certain questions. And the first one, Mrs. Jocelyn, I will address to you. So can you provide a definition of what global food insecurity means and explain why it is important in today's business landscape? And the second one, if you may, I will inquire right now. Can you address the region's unique challenges to better understand the contributing factors and impacts in the region? 4 minutes each of you when answering the questions.
Okay, thank you. Well, first, the definition of food insecurity. Food insecurity means lack of access of safe and nutritious food required to lead a healthy lifestyle. And it includes 4 dimensions. It includes availability, accessibility, capability, and stability. Availability, like limited availability, means a restricted supply of food. Can be also limited accessibility because it's difficult to obtain the food because of economic, geographic, or social barriers. Or limited capability means deficiencies in knowledge, bad nutritional habits, lacks of sanitation, no running or drinking water. And finally, limited stability means that you have sometimes that you can find the food, sometimes not, because you have economic crisis, natural disaster, conflicts, and other adverse circumstances. So let me share with you some shocking statistics according to the United Nations. By 2030, the UN projects that 600 million people will still suffer from hunger. Also, that figure is less than it is what is today, that is 735 million. It will still only be 13 million less than the 613 million that suffered from hunger before the pandemic. So we just almost lost a decade. And the objective of the UN by 2030 was to be 0 people with hunger. 30% of all 15 to 49-year-old women still suffer from anemia. Therefore, they have less oxygen than needed to function. Among children, 148 million who are less than 5 years old experience delayed growth because of malnutrition. Of them, 45 million still suffer from extreme malnutrition. 1/3 of all the people face severe to moderate food insecurity. So, as we can see, food insecurity is a complex challenge that requires that the private and public sectors work together to push for solutions. One priority should be transforming our current food supply chain, so even remote regions and their populations, still untouched by modernity, can develop alongside with the rest of the country. We must invest in sustainable agricultural projects. We have a continent that is blessed with abundant water and fertile soil. We in South America, we think we are the world's breadbasket and pantry of the world. Although Peru is not as large as Brazil, where we are now, it's still the world's largest blueberry and grape producer and exporter, and the second largest avocado producer. So still our region has a lot of potential, but faces a lot of challenges. If we don't tackle problems like climate change, inefficiency used water and energy, continued poverty, deficient education, inaccessible healthcare, and low quality infrastructure, we will lose the fight against food insecurity. So we in Peru, as a company, group of agro-industry that are in the north of the Peru, we are organizing ourselves in an association to try to help in that matter. So let me share some examples of what we are doing as an association to try to tackle these problems. For example, we are collaborating on initiatives to reduce anemia. In the northern part of Peru, we have joined together to create a program that gives food packages with high iron content to kids that suffer with anemia. Education is also very important when we talk about food insecurity. We are helping our field and plant workers to finish their high school diploma. In Peru, unfortunately, and I think in a lot of our countries, there's a lot of people in the rural areas where we develop agriculture that never finish school. So we are helping them together with the government to study at night and to finish their high school diplomas. In the communities we work, also there's not very good healthcare. So between the companies in the north, we implement some hospitals, and we do medical campaigns to help all the community. Another important thing that we do is we work with very small farmers and we include them in our supply chain. For example, we are exporters of artichokes, so we have more than 200 small farmers of 1 hectare, 2 hectares, that we give them technological assistance and fertilizers, and they produce for us and we export their products. Finally, another example of we are doing we work in the communities. It's a program that's called like Mothers Association that help feed low-income families that we finance. So there's still a lot to do, and it's our responsibility to keep working on these initiatives.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Jocelyn. And now we are going to invite Mr. Fernando Prezotto. Fernando, as a key player providing innovative solutions in the agribusiness sector, can you share your insights on the most relevant technological innovations that enhance the food production? And can you elaborate more on the key advantages of these solutions, particularly in terms of their potential to scale up food production and to improve availability in a sustainable manner in face of the existing challenge?
Obrigado, Maher. Bom, primeiro sobre segurança.
Thank you, Maher. When we talk about food insecurity, you cannot just think about the amount of food. Of course, this is the beginning of this thought for sure. And there's a sentence I like very much that said the world is always a day before war. And if there's not food, the other day we'll have war. So food safety, food security, it's about, we have to think about the quality of the food. and that we have. I don't know if everyone knows about that, but a research at the end of the last year showed that in Brazil, 62% of the food we eat have chemical residues, and they're either in the tolerance array or above it, but they're not good for us. And that impacts the quality of life that human beings are having. And when these products were invented over a century ago, chemicals for harvesting, people didn't know about the damages they could cause, and now we have this knowledge, so we need to change this. And also, referring to a timeline in which it wasn't possible to create more modern technologies, and now in technologies that piled up on top of each other, the discovery of DNA, the DNA mapping in an easier way that's done nowadays. We can talk about biocomputing and the basic concept. Life, basically, any living being, DNA, RNA, and proteins. In every moment you interfere with that, you have the potential to adjust or change or kill a virus or disease, an insect. So in the past, this type of knowledge wasn't easy. It was very expensive. It was hard to be accessed. And I believe in the future, agriculture will be done in a very much more sustainable way, because the agricultural inputs industry and a role is to offer the producer in the produces in a very different way. They won't have no effects in groundwater, so that we can keep the quality of groundwater throughout time. And I'd like to go beyond that. When we talk about climate change, that it's part of our routines. It's impossible to ignore. In Brazil, a month ago, we had the floods in Rio Grande do Sul. We have several situations happen all around the world, so it's impossible to deny climate change. When you talk about climate change, one of the main greenhouse gas, that's nitrous oxide, is liberated when nitrogen is used in plants, and plants need three basic elements, which nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Nitrogen is all the time next to us. The air we breathe has over 70% of nitrogen, the air that we have inside this room. But the plants, most of the plants cannot use nitrogen directly from the air that's next to them. So nowadays, the farmers need the nitrogen as a bit oil source, and nitrous oxide is liberated, and it's a greenhouse gas effect. And who's going to sort that out? Science, research, and research usually is going to sort out these big problems in humankind. As we can see in the pandemic, the vaccines came, and why were they liberated so quickly? I'll come back to what I said before. Because regulation, that's usually, in my opinion, it's exaggerated. At that moment in which the world needed that so much, it was done in a very expedite way, easier way, and the vaccines came. If it wasn't from that, in 5 years, we wouldn't have a COVID vaccine. And that happens for several farming technologies that can make a revolution in the production, and we have to wait for years to wait for regulations for things that have been proved for 40 years that are good, and they have to be proved again, and they cost a fortune, and we spend years in that. I don't know how my time is, and my time is up. Okay, thank you.
We are going to invite Mr. Lance. Mr. Lance, what potentials of innovation have you observed that connect companies from Korea to create specific technology solutions that can be integrated with context-specific applications in Latin America region? And if you allow me, also asking in particular, how can agri-food tech ecosystem contribute to a positive impact on food security?
I want to talk more about the precision fermentation. CJ, we invested lots of money and effort for the fermentation technology during the last 40 years. So we could develop, several precision fermentation technology, and there are lots of, small startups for the work. They are working for the precision fermentation also. And precision fermentation means we are utilizing biomass like raw sugar and corn and the other biomass and we are producing valuable product using fermentation process, and even for the byproduct, we can utilize for animal feed or fertilizer. So I believe precision fermentation technology is the best example for the sustainable agriculture business. And you know, we CJ we invested lots of money into Brazil because we are using Brazilian raw sugar to produce valuable product, and we just finished the third expansion in Piracicaba, Brazil. So I believe there are a lot more, you know, business chances in Brazil. I mean, LAC area, including Brazil, because LAC region, you have you are blessed with abundant agricultural, you know, biomass, like as I mentioned, the raw sugar or corn and the other, you know, biomasses. So we can utilize, and we can utilize those kind of abundant biomass to produce a valuable product. Lucky reason, I feel you are focusing on the primary processing for the agricultural product, but there are not many fermentation business to produce a valuable product. So let's think about this kind of a situation. What if, you know, there is no importing volume for the like vitamins? Because there is no vitamin producing in LAC area. So, you know, Jocelyn, you mentioned about the hunger, but also mentioned about the malnutrition. So we have to have a nutrition to solve the problem for the food security. So I think we need to invest more and more for the precision fermentation to utilize biomass in LAC region and to produce more valuable product for the human and animal. I think that's the best answer for the sustainable agricultural business.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lance. Now we're going to invite Mr. Hee-Sung. Mr. Sung, as a solution provider from Korea, could you share your perspective on how sustainable agriculture practice can be promoted in addressing the urgent issue of global food insecurity? And could you share some real-world applications, examples of businesses that have successfully integrated these technologies into their operations and the impact it has in the Latin America region?
LS Samtron has integrated advanced precision agriculture technologies such as GPS, sensors, and satellite-controlled autonomous pilots, which have significantly increased productivity and reduced environmental impact. The company's high-performance machineries excels in sustainable farm management. In Brazil, and also in LAC region, LS technologies have helped farmers optimize operations and reduce costs, promoting sustainability and efficient resource use. Farmers operating LS tractors have reported increased yields, reduced input costs, and enhanced sustainability in their farming practices. For the second question, in LS tractors, we are committed to advancing sustainable agriculture through innovative technology. Our tractors, equipped with advanced GPS and sensors, precisely monitor and manage inputs like water and fertilizers, reducing waste and environmental impact. This technology is already enhancing efficiency in Brazil and LAC region. In Korea, we have taken a step further by introducing fully autonomous tractors. Additionally, we are developing platoon operations, which replace the use of very high horsepower tractors with a coordinated group of 3 or 4 smaller tractors. This is a method not only decreases fuel consumption and boosts productivity, but also promotes soil health by minimizing soil compaction. The result is improved crop yields and more sustainable approach to farming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sang. And now, Mr. Francisco. As a venture investor in this sector, could you share recent examples of VC investments in agricultural technology that have enhanced the food production and availability, and the impact that these investments have had in mitigating the issues in the region? And could you discuss the importance of implementing policies, regulations, trade, and innovation knowledge transfer agreements to enhance the food accessibility, availability, and stability, and to further ensure social protection from vulnerable populations? In your opinion, what are the main regulatory and operational challenges that needed to be overcome in the region?
No, for sure. And I'll just take a step back and show how recent and how important scientific innovation and entrepreneurship has been in this revolution that we've had in Latin America. I will use Brazil as the benchmark numbers just to make the comparison. So in 1976, less than 50 years ago, Brazil was a net importer of food. Through scientific breakthroughs and through the expansion to the Center-West and a productivity revolution, Brazil has become the biggest exporter of soybean, corn, poultry, coffee, citrus, sugar and ethanol from sugarcane. We are today the most important stabilizer of global food prices in the world. We export to over 160 countries. So if it wasn't for this, and I agree with Fernando's phrase, that food insecurity is a major catalyzer of geopolitical conflicts, Brazil is today a very important maintainer through global food peace because of this food productivity transformation. So today, even though the challenges are great, we believe that the technologies and entrepreneurship offer us some very good solutions. There are many avenues that we have been investing. Venture capital has been a major source of solving some of these biggest chains. I will give you three major examples. So one sector that we feel is particularly threatened by climate change and food security is the access to financial products and credit in agriculture. Agriculture is by far the most working capital intensive major industry. If credit does not flow, we will have a serious lack of food production, as the cycle is about 250 to 260 days, and the risks associated with farming include biological risk, commodity risk, climate risk, the risks that traditional lenders are not used to running. So building a new financial services industry, tech-driven for farmers, is key. And this has been the biggest area of venture investments in agri-tech in Latin America. We have invested heavily in this, building native digital tech-driven banks for farming. Another major area of investment has been in biologics. So as we see the traditional chemical-based agriculture model start to become exhausted in terms of productivity, we need to engage new nature-based solutions. This has become another major area as we've seen venture investments and private equity investments backing the scale-up of these biologics. And this is an area where we see a major intersection with precision fermentation and a major area of potential cooperation between Latin America and Korea, bringing precision fermentation technologies from there to be able to scale up the nature-based solutions in agriculture over here. And remembering, a point that Fernando pointed out as well, Brazil and Latin America is a major case, the most successful story of tropical agriculture scaled up. On an issue on tropical agriculture, we can have multiple crop cycles in 1 year, 2, 3, 4 crop cycles even. This means we can have a lot more output, but it also means that the cost changes significantly. The unit economics of farmers changes significantly. The plants can grow all year, but the pests, the diseases, the soil erosion, they also grow all year. So it's a completely different ecosystem, and we cannot import innovations. We need to collaborate foreign innovations with local innovations to be able to create adapted, tropicalized solutions. In terms of what I think governments can do, if we look at the size of agribusiness in the region, in Brazil specifically, it's 25% of the economy. Meanwhile, AgTech receives less than 6% of venture funding. This is because the cycles are longer. The expertise necessary to be able to understand AgTech is very specific. So I see a major space for governments and development finance institutions to play a role supplying blended finance to catalyze more venture funding for entrepreneurs in the ag space in the region. It's been clearly an underfunded sector, even though it is the most dynamic, competitive, and crucial sector to improve and reduce vulnerability of populations.
Thank you very much, Francisco. I will also invite each of you for a wrap-up comment that may share, reinforce, or even add your thoughts to those important items. And pretty much with the advancement of innovation technologies that we have talked about today, what the greatest opportunity for enhancing innovation and sustainable agriculture to combat global food insecurity? I will invite ladies first. Mrs. Hee-Sung, please.
Okay, of course, as we've heard from all the panelists, innovation and agriculture have to work together to combat global food insecurity. For me, and I share that, the biggest challenge is to increase productivity in the crops we produce and everybody produce. Land is scarce, water is scarce, so the only way is to use technology, innovation, as you were saying, hybrids and cloning and different innovations and technology to make them more productive and use the resources in the most efficient way. Some of the tools and technology, for example, that we implement that still we are very far away, but we are working on that, is of course all the irrigation equipment, sensors, reduce the use of fertilizers and water. We are developing new crops variety that can increase yields and adapt better to resist the pests and adapt to the conditions that we are. For example, we are developing our own hybrids of artichoke crop, using clonal techniques to have better plants, like in the avocado crop, minimize the waste, the crop rotation, and we have to work that also with the government, with universities to try to make our land more productive, no?
Thank you very much, Mrs. Hee-Sung. Following the sequence, Mr. Fernando.
Obrigado, Maia. Bom, com esse conjunto de ferramentas que estão hoje disponíveis nesse mundo moderno, né, esse mundo tão moderno que a gente vive, se nós pudermos ter a capacidade de investir em pesquisa agrícola,
research, because agriculture research, as Francisco mentioned, we have long cycles. We need years and years to validate the technology and some more years to release this technology, to undergo through regulations, to have the capacity to invest with this toolkit to use, for example, to gene addition. When we speak about gene addition, we can transform these microorganisms to have a more capacity, and one of our main goals is to fix nitrogen. And this is a huge goal, because if we can help this and to put this available to humanity and to have a global production, and with these toolkits we have gene addition for plants, microorganisms. We can use transgenic events, and they are very safe. And using the global regulation, we can use it for cultures, and we can have more modern plants protected from diseases, insects, from temperature, dealing with climate change, more efficient plants using water, fertilizers, nitrogen, potassium. And so today is possible. 30 years ago, we couldn't even think about it, but we need consistency in the research investment, and we have to lower the bar, and science will deliver a scientific revolution, and farmers will deliver more technology, and they will help farmers. So for me, these are the main goals. Sim, os investidores, eu acho que esse é o maior desafio. Temos que ter uma população crescente, que estão saindo da linha de pobreza, temos mais proteção.
Land, less GHG emissions. So it's an epic revolution. And the only way that we have proven repetitively to do this throughout history is through innovation and entrepreneurship. And the innovation is available. And I think this is what happens when you have the intersection of the most exciting economic and impact investment opportunity of this generation, which is invested in ag tech, and no better geography to do it than Latin America if you look at the relevance of the region for global food security. So the topic discussed today and the stakeholders here in the table, I think they demonstrate that we're here to be able to leverage and to be able to guarantee food security despite the challenging times that we go through.
Thank you very much, Francisco. Mr. Sung?
As a tractor manufacturer, we believe what is the most important is the productivity. And to increase the productivity, the implementation of advanced technologies such as GPS, sensors, and fully autonomous tractors are very important, we believe. These technologies ensure precise application of inputs like water and fertilizer, minimizing waste and environmental impact. Additionally, the development of platoon operations, which replace high horsepower tractors with multiple smaller ones, reduces fuel consumption, improves soil health, increases productivity, and promotes long-term sustainability. These innovations are already helping farmers optimize operations and reduce costs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sung. And now, Mr. Lance, you have the word.
Yeah, as an investor, we already invested lots of money into Brazil, but we want to invest more and more, not only in Brazil, but also other lucky regions. And to do that, we have to have more support from government. I want to mention about two things. First one is stronger protection for the IP, because we are spending lots of money for the R&D, so we should have more protection for our own IP, because to introduce a new technology to our current operation or new operation in lucky region, we have to have that protection. And I feel like government, they are more focused on the someone who is exporting to another country. But for the food security standpoint, we have to have more benefit from government for someone who is meet the local demand also. Because what if we want to produce a more valuable product to meet the local demand in lucky region? We have to have more support from government, but it seems like not right now. So we need more support for that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lance. Well, I hope that each of you may have realized that we have here, although all of them representing important companies and players in the sector, globally or locally or regionally, they represent different subsectors. Interestingly, each of them, and they replicate what happens globally, worldwide, in many places at the same time, and the different intensities. They are seeking to do better what was previously done in a certain way. Doing the same in the same way is no longer the solution, because the world keeps on growing, the population, the needs, and the securing food security, improving it, and the fighting very hard food insecurity is really, really important. I invite each of you to imagine if you would not have food at your table or your relatives. That is really scary. And this is something that is really happening right now in so many places around the world. So running our businesses in a sustainable manner, financially, economically, environmentally as well, and mainly socially, because then all the other parts of this equation culminate in providing the good for the population, for the humanity, is a challenge, and not only a challenge, but is also a responsibility for each of us that have either a say or a capacity to really interfere in a process and make it better, make it good. Important to think that many of the people here at this stage now, they have engaged at that path of doing better what has done before and running risks to achieve that goals. We have to embrace the same logic of assuming risks, doing better for a better world as well. So thank you very much for our panelists, as we are very grateful of having each of you sharing to all of you in the audience the information and the knowledge that they have, the experiences. It's said that we don't have much more time to do it, but still we are very proud of having them here, and also strongly proud of having each of you here. We hope you take this message home and to your institutions and improve and engage further at achieving this so important goal of making people living better all around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Meyer, for your excellent conclusion and reflection, and all of the panelists who have been here with us, Jocelyn, Fernando, Francisco, Jamun-san, Hee-Sung. On behalf of IDB, thank you very much for doing this panel so brilliant to talk about food security, sustainability, powered by innovation and technology to surpass climate change and other factors. So thank you very much. Thank you. And now, we have our third plenary session entitled Public-Private Partnerships, Scaling Up the Opportunities for Foreign Investment in Korea and LAC Infrastructure. This panel will address foreign investment attraction opportunities in major infrastructure markets in the region. Please welcome our moderator, Marcos Siqueira Moraes, Public-Private Partnerships Operations Lead Specialist at the Inter-American Development Bank. Please, welcome to our stage. Seja muito bem-vindo, Marcos. Muito obrigada. And to this panel, we will count on the experts. Lady Catherine Sandoval Chacon, Vice President of Structuring, National Infrastructure Agents, Colombia. Sea muy bienvenida. Cleiton Miranda Barros, Head of Special Advisory, Special Secretary of the Investment Partnerships Program of Brazil. Seja bem-vindo, Sr. Cleiton. Jung Cho, President, Korea Development Institute. Hyun Steve Lee, Director General Infrastructure Development Department, Korea Overseas Infrastructure and Urban Development Corp. Welcome to our stage. Please have a seat. Thank you very much. And now the floor is yours. Please, Marcos.
Thank you. Obrigado. Muchas gracias. Thanks for our participants, which I'll introduce in a second. For me, it's a privilege to be here to moderate such a interesting discussion, because the reality is that there won't be a prosperous and equitable Latin America if we don't bridge the infrastructure gap. Infrastructure is the one key element that will bring our region closer to the development standard we aim for. So from IDB's perspective, investing in infrastructure is the key component to improve lives. But then is the key question that follows is which kind of investment and how to promote the adequate institutional arrangements to make that investment possible. So what this panel is going to address in the next 41 minutes is how we can improve the efficiency of private sector investment through increased competition and diversification of capital sources of the private sectors which are investing in infrastructure. And the only way we can achieve this is to bridge the gap between countries. Our region needs to attract more foreign capital to its infrastructure markets. To address this key component, this key discussion, these key questions of how to bring international investors into Latin American infrastructure programs, we have assembled a Class A cohort here, a group that can address this issue from several perspectives. We have Mr. Clayton Barros, who represents the federal government from Brazil, and who leads today the largest pipeline of private sector investment into infrastructure in the world. We have Ms. Catherine Sandoval, who represents the National Infrastructure Agency in Colombia, who has led some of the most innovative PPP projects in the globe, including the fourth generation of road concession, and is now changing its focus into social infrastructure. And we have two representatives from international organizations, President Cho, representing the Korean Development Institute, who focus on sophisticating the Korean environment for private sector participation in infrastructure, and Mr. Lee, representing KIND, which is an institution that participates in the infrastructure market. This group will discuss this very important and relevant issue of how to attract private sector investment, international private sector investment into Latin American market. And I'll begin jump right into it and begin my discussion inviting Mr. Clayton to comment on, perhaps, Mr. Clayton, how is Brazil implementing a private sector participation infrastructure program? I'd like to perhaps to let us know how big the program is, how diversified the program is, and what's the role of PPI, of the institution you represent, in leading this program and putting this program forward.
Alô, agora sim. Bom dia a todos e a todas. Obrigado, Marcos, pelo convite.
Advisory team, and I would like to be part of this debate that is a big part of the president's agenda and say how I see this issue. We have an investment agenda that was announced last year by the president in August. To be more precise, that's the new PAC. The PAC is the Program of Growth Acceleration, the agenda for the next 4 years that strongly involves investment in 9 axes, especially in infrastructure. And I'm talking about the investments that were announced by the government, about 347 billion American dollars, and out of this $347, 106 billion are investment that we classified as private initiative investments. We need to engage the private sector to enter with $106 billion in infrastructure in Brazil, especially the public-private partnership models and concessions department I work with. It's the IPP, and to make those investments happen in the desired timeline and as the society needs in all different areas, we have huge challenges. We have a government agenda to implement, and a little bit about the features of these projects and to have an idea of the diversity of the projects that we have nowadays qualified in the IPP. I believe that some of you have arrived in Rio through the Galeão Airport, the international airport, and it was a qualified project in the IPP portfolio. And throughout these 2 days of event, you probably go through this Copacabana shore line, and in one of the ends of the beach there is the Copacabana Fort, and there's the Museum of the Army. It's another qualified project in our portfolio that is regarding tourism. It's a partnership with the IDB and the Brazilian Army. It's a model that we are announcing, and we are starting. We have just signed this contract last month, and we're going to be working over the next 2 years to make this project happen. So I'm talking about 200 qualified projects as priorities. And more relevant sectors are transportation sectors. We have highways that require every year a model that involves up to 30 billion reais in investments that we need to make viable in Brazil. We have 12,000 kilometers in federal highways that are conceded to investments of the private initiatives. And we've been studying the IPP with several partnerships, 20,000 kilometers. We've been studying to double up what we have had over 30 decades in the concession program. So just so you can have an idea of our challenge. And railways, we have 2 important export hallways, and to move the agricultural products, there are 5,000 kilometers worth of railways that we won't build without the help of the private initiative. We have more recent sectors in our portfolio. Just to finish this first round of interventions, that we have also opened a channel with the private initiatives that are social infrastructure sectors, schools, hospitals, urban mobility, smart cities. We have sectors that I would say that Brazil has as its vocation to discuss and embrace this agenda that regards investments in environmental concessions, national rainforests, national parks. Some of them are the size of some European countries. Just to have an idea of the national forests that we're studying, how to engage with the private sector to preserve these assets, especially taking into consideration the regulated carbon market that the National House of Representatives is speeding up with. So all these interventions, it's not possible to go forward with this project without having a direct connection with the private initiative, and especially developing a government strategy that requires the growing participation of the private initiative as a complement to the public sector by rendering the infrastructure projects.
It is impressive how much you've advanced, the country has advanced the agenda of private sector participation in infrastructure. And we'll come to the challenges of attracting international capital in a second. But before that, I'd like to ask Ms. Catherine Sandoval about the Colombian experience. The National Infrastructure Agency has recently broadened quite significantly its support to include also social infrastructure. Can you briefly tell us what is the role of the National Infrastructure Agency in Colombia, and how is it preparing to implement both economic and social infrastructure projects in the future?
Hola, ya, gracias. Sí, gracias Marcos por darnos el honor de que moderes este panel. Gracias al Banco Interamericano de Desarrollo por ser siempre nuestro colaborador y cooperante para que desde Colombia podamos hoy posicionarnos como uno de los líderes de desarrollo en asociaciones público-privadas en el mundo. Gracias a toda la comitiva de Corea, de Brasil y del mundo que hoy dispone de su tiempo para venir a estos espacios que creo que nos permiten seguir fortaleciendo los canales de comunicación que resultan vitales para el desarrollo de proyectos con participación privada en los diferentes países. Ahora me tomaré un par de minutos para contarles un poco sobre la Agencia Nacional de Infraestructura que tenemos en Colombia y de por qué ahora estamos en una etapa de un cambio importante de cara al desarrollo de infraestructura social. Mencionarles que la Agencia Nacional de Infraestructura se creó hace más de 10 años en Colombia. Se crea con una principal motivación en su momento de desarrollar un gran paquete de proyectos carreteros sobre los cuales se evidenció un déficit importante en su
There's a
momento.
deficit at
Hace
that
10 años,
moment, and 10 years ago we were thinking, well, we needed at least 4 projects of road infrastructure within which we were able to develop concessions and put 35 projects in the market and $1.2 billion that represent 4 generations of concessions in road infrastructure. And based in this development of these projects, it was given by the Asians the institutional support to think about the entrance in other sectors. And that took us to have a wallet, not only in roads, but also a packet of railroad projects that currently we've been developing. And if you allow me to mention this, we've been thinking about a railroad project that's going to connect the center of the country with all of the ports in the Caribbean area. It's a project that will be published, and the project will be open on Friday this week. It will cost $684 million and will allow us to transport around 5 or 8 million tons between the center of the country and the Caribbean. And we're also advancing in the connection, as the governor mentioned minutes ago, between the center of the country as the Pacific ports, which for sure will strengthen the relationship that we have between Colombia and Asia, because there was where there are main big volume exports, and is a $1.3 billion, and we'll generate about 70,000 jobs and transport 70 million tons. And we're also developing the studies, and we'll start the feasibility of a project that connects all the central areas to the ports of the Caribbean, again connecting all the network that exists, thinking about the railroad system that connects the ports of the Pacific with the Caribbean ports. And this project is 20 billion pesos, so we would have a railroad network that's already built. And as I mentioned, it would be $1.3 billion for the trains that we're thinking. And to complement the portfolio that Colombia has in roads, we're talking about 3 big projects. And not to go further into detail, to mention the projects, that is about 2 million pesos, Colombian pesos, is $3.5 billion of the road projects, whose investments is to develop tunnels and bridges to cross the mountains due to our geographic conditions, and which would be representing about 230,000 new jobs that will be generated in the country. In airports, we have 5 projects that are being developed at the moment. They account for $4.6 million. They'll be created 3,600 jobs. We would like to enlarge the airports in the main capitals and touristic areas of our countries, in their country, and a second airport in Bogota, the capital of Colombia, and to enlarge the one we have nowadays to mobilize 50 million passengers. And now this portfolio that I mentioned that has been dedicated to the development of roads, railroads. They gave the agency the opportunity that in the current National Development Plan, the President has given new functions to the National Infrastructure Agency so that we are able to develop social infrastructure based in the experience that we've had and in the legislation that Colombia has had. For 20 years, we had a first risk document that was thought for roads, but in a way could limit a little bit our arrival to other sectors. This document was updated 2 years ago, and now we have the development of infrastructure products in 19 economy sectors. And based in data of the agency, you have prioritized 13 social sectors, health, 3 sectors, health, water, and education. Education, we are thinking about putting forward a packet of 52 schools that are representing investments of $415 million. Some of them are very close, are in the phase of public bidding. The others, we have to wait for about 1.5 years to go for public bidding. This is about education. About water, that's also very important, one of the priorities that the current government has highlighted, and one of the priorities that is in their policies is the development of water, residual water plants, treatment plants, and about 36% of the waters in Colombia are being treated. The rest, they just flow to the river, polluted. And now we have a coverage of water pipelines of about 80%, so about 4 million people, they drink water that's not proper for human consumption, that's not treated. And so it brings us to some priorities in the development of infrastructure. For example, the water treatment plants. So this, in addition to the 4 projects that we have now, they're very advanced in their study. It would amount to $2.1 million in this year and the next year. And last but not least, in health, there is a very important area. We have to get 160,000 beds, and we know that only 64% of our hospital are in a bad situation, and the average time of life in the hospitals that we have in Colombia is over 40 years without no compliance to regulation. So we have prioritized 6 big intervention in 3rd-level hospitals in Colombia. They represent $455 million. This amounts to a total of $22.6 million in investments for the social sector. It requires also a robust social adjustments and where the investments made, and the IDB is supporting us so that in the interior of the agency in the world become stronger and make the arrival of the private capital is easier to develop projects in our sectors. Thank you very much, Catherine. The experience of Colombia and the agency is amazing. It's an example for the region.
President Cho, if you could share, the KDI have a very important role in the Korean private sector participation infrastructure program. Can you share with us what is this role and a bit of some key examples of projects you're involved with?
Well, KDI was originally established to support the government development plan in the 1970s to achieve so-called Korean miracle. And we gave a lot of expert advices to policymaking to the Korean government. And we had accumulated fairly good reputations regarding neutrality and expertise and professionalism. And after accumulating this kind of reputation, the government, sometime around 2000, the government wanted to kind of take advantage of this accumulated reputation and asked the KDI to establish so-called the Public Infrastructure Investment Management Center, which whose main mission was to conduct the feasibility test of infrastructure project of using central government money, and some value for money assessment. Every politician wants to construct railroads and shipyards and public schools in their own district. So there is a whole lot of competition among politicians, and a lot of political pressure is always going on. So the government wanted to take advantage of KDI's reputation about neutrality and expertise. They asked the KDI to take this kind of missions, and it has been successful. Since then, the KDI actually approached the government sometime in 2005 in order to facilitate infrastructure project. We also have to attract private sector's money. So that it was actually KDI, as far as I know, that urged the government to consider more seriously about the PPP projects, including private sector's involvement. And since then, government took government fully utilized this PPP and asked the KDI to conduct the feasibility test and value for money assessment on this PPP projects as well. So KDI, I actually brought the this is called the PMAC. Now Public and Private Infrastructure Investment Management Center, which is under the governance of KDI, under the umbrella of KDI. They have full staff of expertise and taking feasibility tests and all other relevant missions for the government. And at every corner of PPP design and implementation and relevant policy issues, KDI's PPP, PMAC, always providing advices to the government.
Thank you. The technology developed by KDI has been key to several developments in Latin America, including value for money methodologies. We'll come to that in a minute. But before that, I'd like to ask Mr. Lee about KIND's, its role and how it sees opportunities overseas before we jump into more specific questions.
Yeah, thank you for your question. KIND is the short name of Korea Overseas Infrastructure and Urban Development Corporation. We are established in 2018 under Ministry of Land and Infrastructure and Transport of Republic of Korea. KIND is very unique organization to provide equity to the Korean company who are doing the global PPP business in the world. We play a role as a co-investor and co-developer for the global PPP project with Korean company. We provide the integrated tool solution from product identification, development, at the financial support, at the implementation stage, if everything is successful. KIND provide the feasibility study and some of the development capital to the project at the development stage, and if successful, we invest our capital to the equity sponsor, and if there are some funding gap, we also provide some debt provider as well as the equity sponsor. After establishment in 2018, we have invested and committed to 4 projects in LAC area. Most of them are the renewable asset and gas power plant in Chile. We also have some pipeline for the transport infrastructure project in Panama, Paraguay, Costa Rica, and other LAC area. But yeah, it takes some time to be developed. Yeah. The most when we review the project, the most key factor is whether the project has a bankability or not. Bankability is quite complicated concept, subject to the concession condition and sustainability, sovereign credit and financial capacity for the government. But we check whenever we identify some potential opportunity, we check whether the project has a bankability, which means the financing from the private sector can be realized or not.
Fantastic, Mr. Lee. Latin America desperately needs companies like yours participating in our infrastructure markets, which brings me to the next question to Mr. Clayton. Mr. Clayton, what is Brazil doing to attract institutions like Mr. Lee's to the country's infrastructure programs?
O desafio que nós temos, Marcos, eu diria que
Every time that we have a bid or higher projects, we have the perception that we have a limited participation of players among those areas where you have a perceived risk or in the initial phase of operation. So the first tickets of high tickets or high capex values to finance this project, and for this we have the need concerning the domestic, and we have to have a strategy to attract new players. And while we structure this in a general way, we have to separate this in two dimensions. One is to see the dimension of the project, and the other is to have a business environment or a governance which is beyond the project. And from this, we need two initiatives. In the first dimension, we have to create tools to mitigate risks of relevance for foreign investors. For example, the volatility of our exchange rate. If we have long-term agreements, our local currency, which pays, it's devaluated, and when the project is not funded by a foreign currency, they have the international market, and then he sees the opportunity to invest in Brazil, but he can invest with American dollars in Colombia, Mexico, or Peru. And we have this international perception. And to answer your question, we have implemented and we are using this mitigating risks for roads, and we can see agreements. We have Eco-Invest agenda from the Ministry of Finance of Brazil. They want to have the structure of a project. We've launched this 4 months ago, and this will offer us some opportunity to mitigate this kind of risk. And the new PAC that I referred, that the last governance program we had 175 institutional acts. We have to improve the institutional environment, implementing some laws, as for example, to have the environmental approval, the time we take to have an approval for a large infrastructure project. These are issues that we have to improve and implement to attract more foreign investors that we really need. if you could add the PPI, which is the institution which coordinates this, that each ministry had their own discussions, and I know your role is fundamental.
Similar question. Colombia has been more successful than Brazil to attract private sector bidders, international bidders. Why do you think that is? Which are the success factors that you think have been done, and how do you envision going forward to be even more internationally bidders friendly on your PPP projects?
Gracias. Hola, ya. Sí, Marcos, gracias por esa pregunta y creo que me uno en parte a lo que mencionaba Clayton.
From one way, part of the Colombia's success, they created a very robust institution dedicated to infrastructure with more than 1,000 people contributing for this. And this generated, they trust in the investments to have a long-term agreement. And for this, adding up to the whole regulations that we implement in the country. We have a APP in 2012, and we update all the standards to invest, to have more competitive projects, and to show interest in private initiatives. And I think this standard changes, this brings trust to the market. And how can we manage the long-term agreements? We had more than 20 years of a policy to identify how can we be efficient decreasing risk, so we could update and identify risks. And we had 5 sectors. We have many areas to develop APP project. So thinking how can we motivate the private investment. The foreign companies can show us initiatives, even if they don't have an agency in Colombia with their own capital, or maybe when they have controlled partners, or if they have partners. And in financial terms, we have flexibility that allow us to invite more investors to Colombia. And we've incorporated more sustainability issues, and we have one of the elements adjusted to the project risks and the structures. And we are also some relevant issues to have the possibility of funding the structures. And we have a large participation from companies in Colombia, and a message to understand the importance of foreign investment in Colombia. Colombia had a tax reform to receive 20 million pesos. And this tax reform allowed us that we need to receive or have 50 additional million pesos to Colombia. This is a very complex initiative that for the gross conditions we have, we need the participation of foreign companies that come to invest in Colombia. For us, to support our infrastructure.
I'd like to Mr. Lee to help me think about this. Exchange rate risk, ESG standards, risk allocation, are these enough for companies like Kind to participate in financial deals for infrastructure in Latin America? Or what else do you need?
It's good signal for our investment from the foreign investment. Of course, people coming to this forum, I survey which kind of constraint is barrier for the investment in LAC area. Most of the Korean company said first one is the geographically is too far away. They are very hard to find sufficient manpower to work here. Second is language. As you know, most of the concession agreement adopt Spanish as a contract language, and then some kind of the tender documents also issued in Spanish. And third one is the unstable. Some country has an unstable political situation. Even the top priority project is suddenly canceled right after regime change by election. We also have same challenge before. While we conducting the feasibility study, the project is just disappear like that. And then Korean company is not used to handle this kind of the local matter. They are lack of the local practice, like how to handle labor union, how to handle the civil complaint for the project, some things. So to mitigate such kind of risk, we'd better to we recommend MDB, Multilateral Development Bank, like IDB, contribute tender advisory service and feasibility support, and some kind of joining the lender group. Those kind of support will be very helpful for our investment.
Thank you, Mr. Kind. You
Perdón, gracias. Pero el punto que has mencionado es muy importante. Y creo que
as you mentioned, we have in Colombia two issues to address the risk you mentioned. One on side to have long-term political goals to meet the large infrastructure needs. And so we can have a clear message to what the country has for the next 30 years. And this we can deal with the details. And the other issue that I've been working is that the construction of documents and agreements and summaries. We've been dealing with them, that if you want to present projects to Colombia, you know the criteria, you know the features, the standards, the indicators, and this allows us to be familiar, and these are summaries that they can last for a long time.
Because one of the key components of this discussion is knowledge, right? If the Latin American PPP projects are more standardized to international standard, that makes it cheaper or easier for international players to participate, right? So the technology to prepare PPP projects is key, which brings me, President Cho, KDI has developed this technology to be one of the leading institutions in the world of methodological designs. Can you help share this technology to Latin America?
Sure. We are willing to. And since sometime in 2005, a lot of Asian developing countries visited KDI to learn about the all these detailed technologies about the PPP projects. And since then, World Bank and the ADB sponsored KDI to organize annual meeting, network meeting to train those people from developing countries' governments about the PPP projects details and how to make it more effective and efficient. And these days, we organize annual meeting, network meeting, so-called the APN, Asia Pacific Network Meeting, sponsored by World Bank and the ADB. And every year, around 50 some government officials and other relevant private sector participants come to Korea to learn about this. And so we are more than willing to extend our arms to Latin American countries. And actually, last year, I heard from the relevant center's chief executive member who told me that a lot of Latin American countries are tapping on the possibility that they can also participate, but we could not take them all at that time. So we know that there is enough demand from Latin American countries. So as far as we can find relevant, good sponsors, then we are more than willing to.
Perhaps IDB is one of those sponsors. Which brings me to, perhaps we should take the lead, and this is a great idea, to have a similar to the Asian Pacific Forum, to have a Korea-LAC Forum specifically to discuss good practice in private sector participation in infrastructure. That will lead to standardization of documents which might help institutions like KIND to participate more broadly in Latin American market. So exchange rate risk, social and economic infrastructure, social and environmental standards, in standardization documents might be key components to increase the financial relationships that will lead to better infrastructure and ultimately to improve lives. Thanks for your participation, and I hope this will lead to better infrastructure in Latin America in the near future. Thank you, everybody, for participating.
Well, we are going to have an official picture now, so please get together. Thank you very much. While they are taking the picture, I want to say thank you to Marcos for the excellent moderation. Also, muchas gracias, Late Catherine, Clayton, Ton Tutu, and Yoon, Steve Lee. Thank you very much for being here with us. Please don't go, because I have some important notes to give to all of you about what is going to happen. So now it's time for our business networking luncheon on the 50th floor. Please take this opportunity to connect with other participants. And please be reminded that we shall meet in this very same ballroom tonight for a very special dinner. We kindly request for your presence at 8:30. So the special dinner will happen at 8:30 in this same ballroom. Additionally, I would like to remind you that tomorrow we have a very interesting program of panels and presentations that will begin at 10 a.m., 10 o'clock. So I hope we get the chance to see you all tomorrow. Have a nice business networking luncheon meeting on 50th floor, and I'll see you at dinner 8:30. And for you who are with us through the streaming, thank you very much for being with us. We really appreciate it, and I hope it was a very productive morning for all of you. So thank you very much. Thank you.